Welcome to your Yin Yoga class today. Today we're going to do some things that work on the spleen meridian. The spleen meridian is actually responsible for helping your body combat viruses. And since we're all trying really hard not to get the coronavirus, we want to work on the areas of our body that are going to strengthen our immune system as much as possible. So the poses that I picked today for this sequence are going to be spleen meridian, kidney meridian, liver meridian, and we're going to open the area of the lungs so we have really good lung capacity. Items that are really helpful to have are definitely blocks. If you have some kind of a blanket or a pillow, this can be really helpful in some of these poses. And if you have a bolster or something like a bolster, if you maybe even have a couch cushion or something of this nature, that might be beneficial as well, but you're not necessarily going to need it. So we're going to start off in just a comfortable seated pose. And I want you to close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Now, one thing that we want to keep throughout our practice is a steady breath. It doesn't need to be loud, but we want to connect to our breathing to make sure we're not in a pose that is hurting us, that we're not in a pose that is stressful on the body. Everything in Yin is a stress on the ligaments and the tendons, but it doesn't have to be a stress or another stress for your body. We're under a lot of stress right now, and so allowing this to be a de-stressing practice would be a really beneficial thing. So just coming in, staying here for a few moments, closing your eyes. Think about breathing deeply in through your nose. And then exhale through your nose. And start to feel how your breath also changes your internal structure. It creates a little bit more opening through the ribs. So sometimes your breath can actually help massage some of those areas that we want to get into a little bit deeper. And maybe say a few words of gratitude as to what is going on that is good. I realize that sometimes when everything seems really stressful, it's harder to find those things. So I think that's when we need gratitude more, when we need to find more areas of our life that we can be truly grateful for in all ways. Gratitude unlocks gratitude. It's kind of sticky that way. And so the more grateful I am, the more good things that start to manifest. Intention is really important. So maybe also setting an intent for your practice today. Thinking, what do I want to get out of this practice? Maybe it's a stronger immune system, a body that can fight off anything that comes its way. And then we're going to start off in a butterfly pose. And so butterfly, I'm going to take my feet together and I'm going to find a fold forward. Now, if you have limited mobility or you kind of feel as though you're being pulled back, I want you to prop up on a blanket and you're going to kind of lift yourself up a little bit. Now, if you don't need the blanket, you don't have to have the blanket. You're going to pull your chest forward and maybe even take your hands and kind of move your thighs a little out. This is going to target the meridians on the inside of the thighs, so that's spleen, liver, and kidney, and it's also going to hit the outside, which is the gallbladder. And all of those are the areas of our body that are very filtering, that we want to filter out toxins so we stay really healthy and strong. Now, as I'm here, I'm going to start to allow myself to come down a little bit. If I need more support, I can use my blocks. If you've had any neck injuries, you might want to keep your head a little bit more straight. If not, maybe allowing for more of a rounded position, and you can bring the elbows in. We're going to stay here for about 3 minutes. And just starting to feel sensation. And so I want to feel sensation in these poses, but I don't want to feel pain. And so you should feel as though there's some pulling, some tugging. No, I don't need the blanket, so I'm going to take the blanket away. I also want to make sure I have some space between my ankles and my groin, so I'm really targeting the outside of the thighs. Now, if you're feeling pain around the knees or even in the hips, you can use a block underneath the thighs, kind of like a doorstop, and place that under to give you more support. If anything is overly distracting, give yourself the support you need. If you don't need that support, you can just extend those props forward and have them handy in case you need them. And just start to allow your head to come down. If this feels okay for the neck, you can round into the pose, and that way we're really stretching into the back body. This is going to start to open also the back of the lungs and getting into the back of the heart. And regulating your breathing, just being aware of your breath. And so just being aware that sometimes those issues can manifest themselves. And anything that comes up is good to let go of. Sometimes not chasing away those thoughts, but recognizing maybe why a thought comes up. The hips, especially for women. And this is an area we put not only unresolved stress, but weakness. It's an area that sometimes women especially, we put times in our life where we felt weak. We felt as though we weren't as strong as we could be. Maybe we didn't stick up for ourselves. And so reinforcing the idea too during this practice that you are okay, that you are safe, and maybe even working on affirmations like I am strong, I am beautiful. You know, giving your body new memories when we're releasing old ones. So we're going to stay here for another 30 seconds. This would be that second edge of the pose. Second edge of the pose is going to be where you're maybe pushing forward just a little bit more than where you would have necessarily stayed for the whole 3 minutes. 30 seconds might be something where I'm feeling the most amount of sensation, but again, not pain. Pain means your body is going to fight back. It's kind of like a swimmer that is drowning and fighting. You know, it's better to relax into your pose because then you stretch a little bit deeper, you stretch a little more. The minute I push, my body wants to fight back to protect me. And then that's a really easy way to get hurt or create more injury or even more stress in an area of the body I'm trying to get rid of stress. And so when you're ready, just on your next inhale breath, slowly start to push yourself up Chin comes in towards your chest, and then just start to move your head around, getting a little bit of decompression, a little de-stress in the neck. When you're ready, think about bringing those legs a little closer together. We're gonna walk back, so walk the hands and face the fingers so they're facing out. Walk the legs out to the edges of your mat and just move your knees a little side to side, kind of windshield wiper your knees. And then maybe straightening out the legs. Think about shaking the knees out a little bit. Now, we're going to come into a wide child's pose with a twist. The wide child's pose, I'm going to take my knees out a little bit wider. I'm actually going to be on the backs of the legs, and the heels can be out to the side. I want the legs a little bit wider because, again, I want to target the kidney, liver, and spleen meridians. So those are going to run to the inside of the thighs. The twist is going to get into the lungs and the heart. So I'm really going to be able to open up some areas in the lungs. Now, when I do this, if this is too much, if you need some support, you can take a blanket or even a bolster underneath the hips. Now, if you're feeling discomfort on the tops of your ankles, you can take a blanket under there as well. We're going to take the knees out as wide as I can, and I want you to start extending the bottom back and heart down. And just let your heart come down for a moment. Now, I'm going to bring, if you have more than one blanket or even a pillow, you can use that. I'm going to bring this blanket forward. I'm going to bring the left arm under, and I'm actually going to try to pull the left arm more over towards the right side of my mat. Now, I'm going to kind of turn the palm so it's facing up and work on the twist here. And this is where that blanket can come in handy. You can kind of fold that blanket so you have some support under the head. Now into the twist, I'm going to reach the arm up and just see if it feels okay to bring the other arm behind the back. If not, you can use this hand to just kind of push into the twist and stay there. Really depends on what feels best for you. So if you like that little push, and again, not where you're not able to rest, because you want to kind of allow yourself to sink into the pose. If this is uncomfortable for the head, you can take it out or even draw the head down more. You're going to find how best to adjust this pose for you. I'm going to leave the left shoulder down. Right arm, I'm going to take it around and grab the inside of my thigh. So that way this shoulder is working back. I'm working both shoulders. And now I'm just going to close my eyes. Now we're twisting a little deeper. And as you twist, you're going to work into the organ system. So this is where your breath really starts to massage into the lower organs, the intestines, the lower intestines, the upper intestines. It's just really opening the chest here, being sure that you can breathe. So if your breath is cutting off, you're probably in a little too deep in the pose. And then as you're here, see if you can start relaxing a little bit more. Not every part of your body is always able to relax, but you want to try to relax as much as you can, almost as though you have a weight just kind of weighing you down. And start to walk your body or walk your attention through your body and see if there's any area where you're pulling, where you're tightening. Is your hand gripping? Is it pulling down? Are any of your muscles actively working when we're doing this? And just see, can I relax in this pose? And the thing about Yin, it is the feminine practice of yoga. It is non-effort. It is sinking down. So maybe picture if your whole body was made of sand, and that sand is being poured out on the beach. And just picturing each little speck of sand being poured on top, and that the sand just melts into the sand below it. And then it's kind of just pulling down a little bit more into the earth. If your sand is a little wet, as you pour it around something, the sand will start to take on that shape. And so kind of notice and recognize, what is the shape I'm working on creating here? What am I working on opening? And you're going to feel a little bit more of a pull on that left inner thigh. You might feel this around the knees. If you need to come up a little bit more to adjust, again, those blankets will help a lot. You can be sitting on a bolster. We have about 1 more minute in this pose. And so seeing, is there anything else I can offer? And even recognizing, where do I feel this the most? You know, the more time we spend kind of figuring out what's going on in our body, the smarter we get about solving some of our own problems. We realize the connections between what I do and how I feel. Maybe how I stand on a regular basis creates a pattern in the body that sometimes can create a problem. But sometimes we're so busy we don't recognize how I feel, what I'm doing. And so your yin practice slows everything down. Kind of forces us to be a little bit more aware. And so just feeling where you feel a connection. You're working into that outer left shoulder, you might feel connection to the right hip. You might feel the left hip really pulling, the left knee. About 4 more deep, good breaths. And again, just letting yourself go. Being present. Being part of your experience. So start to release the right arm and really slowly bring it over. Really important that we come out of these poses pretty slowly. I'm going to set my right forearm down and I'm going to just gently start to lift my left side off. And we're going to bring myself back into the center, and then I'm going to take my feet out from underneath me before we come to the other side. I'm going to allow my legs to stretch out a little bit, and this might be where you really start to feel some of the areas that you worked. So I'm going to pull my body away from my legs and just kind of shake your legs out a little bit. Maybe move your feet a little bit. Let's bend the knees. Bring the knees out and the feet out to the edges. And again, just find those little slow windshield wipers. Moving slowly into this pose. And then I'm going to come to the other side, same thing. And I'm going to come into that child pose. This time I'm going to face towards you so you can see. And I'm going to bring my left shoulder down and I'm going to thread the left arm through. Now again, I want my knees out a little bit wider so I'm kind of getting the benefit of that balasana, that child's pose, this wider opening in the thighs. as I come down. So you might take a moment here and just allow your body to get used to this. If you need that bolster blanket underneath your hips, you can prop up. That's going to take a lot of pressure off your knees. This time I'm going to bring that right shoulder down, pressing into the right shoulder over towards that left side, and maybe having something for your head, and just allowing yourself to come down. And again, I might use my hand to press in. This might be enough. Try to relax the hand as much as you can, and then start to relax into the body. If you want to bring that left arm up, you're going to take that left arm around. And you might be able to grab onto the inside of the right thigh. Try to make sure you're not overextending the shoulder. So relaxing in to the shoulder, allowing the body to relax a little bit more. Now again, one of the reasons why I chose this practice today is because we want to work into the spleen, the kidneys, the liver. These are all areas that are going to keep me fighting viruses and keep my body really strong to be able to fight. And if I come into contact with a virus, just because I come into contact doesn't mean my body is going to get it. And that's something that we forget. A lot of us come into contact with viruses all the time, and our immune system is really strong. And it immediately wards off those viruses. And so if I can keep my immune system really strong, it'll fight everything that comes in before it has a chance to actually really take root, to get in deeply. And so I'm going to try to relax into this pose as much as I can. Start to feel that the right shoulder gets a little heavier. Start to allow the back of the left arm to kind of sink into the back body. And just recognize and notice, where do you feel this stretch? How is it different? Or is it different? You might feel the same hip. If you have one hip that's a little bit tighter than the other, you might feel pressure in the actual same side of your body as you did the previous side. Also recognizing and noticing if thoughts are entering your practice. And if they do, just kind of let your thoughts filter in and out. Unless it's maybe a thought about your past that you need to address. Kind of face, and then see if you can let it go. And so we're going to come into the second edge of this pose. And that's where you might find something that's a little bit more. Allow your groin to get a little lower, maybe the knees to open a little bit more. Maybe the left shoulder is further back towards the right, or you might even grab more of the right thigh. Deepening your breath, allowing your breath to really massage your organs. Getting into the large and the small intestines. Staying here for one more deep breath. And then when you're ready,
slowly start to release the left arm. And I'm going to take that left forearm down. Very gradually start to push yourself up, coming back in. And a lot of these poses, when you come out of them, really so important to come out of them slowly. If you have injuries, you'll notice it feels like sometimes it exacerbates it a little bit more, makes it come to the forefront a little bit more. And so moving out of these super slow, and you'll notice, when we do that second side, sometimes it's a little bit more, and I give myself more assistance. I want you to massage the sides of your hips. And so really massage into those, getting that area open. The sides of the legs, this is the gallbladder meridian. So we're getting a lot of flow going in our body. See if you can just move out the legs. We're going to be up on the knees for this next sequence. We're going to come into our dragon pose. You can use dragon with a bolster, and I'm going to show that variation today. We're only going to be in the dragon for a couple of minutes. So we're going to start off with the right leg. And I'm going to bring the dragon over towards the right side. Now, if you have sensitive knees, probably going to want a blanket for this left knee. And we're going to hit into the top of the thigh as well. And so we're hitting a lot of different areas in the body to get really a lot better flow. Now you can use the bolster, and if you have a bolster, you can take it up sometimes as high as you need to, and sometimes this will give you a little bit of support. If you do not need the bolster, and you have your blocks, the blocks can really help here a lot. The blocks are going to only allow you to take some of this pressure off, but it's enough sometimes to be able to hold the pose for a little bit longer. Now on this one, is I really want to work the insides of the thighs. So I'm getting, again, that spleen, kidney, and liver meridian. I'm going to keep my knee so the knee comes right over the ankle. And this is going to also stretch this top of the thigh on the left side. And think about pulling your shoulders a little bit back and just allow yourself to move forward. You can use an elbow towards the knee, so you have one hand on the block. That's a really comfortable way to come into it. If you need more support, you're going to push your left hip back, so it's a little bit more towards the knee. I'm going to shift my weight forward. In the dragon, we're only going to stay here for 2 minutes. So we're going to 2 minutes each side on this dragon. So allow yourself to come forward as much as you can, kind of pulling the chest up. And just notice how this feels on the left side. So we're really stretching into the psoas. This is going to connect to the low back as well. So we're getting into that back body. Think about opening the lungs a little bit, and this is a great place to take some deeper breaths. The inhale actually lifts you up out of your pose a little bit more when you're in your dragon. Exhale is going to connect you a little lower, and it's going to deepen the stretch. And so whatever you're trying to get the most of, again, closing your eyes, going a little bit more internally, noticing how you feel. When I go inside, I have less of a tendency to hurt myself. I'm more aware of where my edge is, how long I can stay in a pose comfortably without creating pain, stress, or tension for myself. And I always thought the dragon was such a good name in yin pose because it's a pose that really generates a lot of heat in the body. So this is a pose when I do this in my yoga classes, my students all sweat a little bit more, and it's hard to think of the fact that you're not doing anything but holding a pose and you're sweating. but you're releasing a lot. And that releasing is toxins sometimes coming out of the body. And if toxins are coming out of the body, that means they're not in the body. And it creates a healthier, balanced body. Now we're only here for about 3 more good breaths. Remember, these are nice deep yoga breaths. On this next one, maybe using your blocks, and think about pushing yourself gently back. So I'm going to realign the knee and the hip on the left side, start straightening out the right leg a little bit more. Maybe reach the toes up and start moving the right leg a little back and forth. Now I can take the blocks to the inside and I can just swing this right leg around. Maybe just rebound here for a moment. Legs together, knees a little closer together in your child's pose. All right. When you're ready, we have dragon on the other side. So we're going to find that dragon on the other side. And I'm going to move my towel down and my blocks over so you can see it on this side. This time my left leg is going to be forward and my right knee is going to be underneath the blanket. Now I want to bring the left knee and ankle in alignment. This way I'm working really well into that right hip. Now I'm going to use and take my blocks up a little bit more. I really like to have one elbow on my knee. I'm still kind of pulling from the belly, opening the chest, but I want to be able to try to relax into this pose. The back of my right toes are relaxed. My shoulders are slightly back and I'm not slumping forward too much. Now you can use both hands. If you have issues with the wrists, if you press down into your fists, so your wrists and your forearms align, it's going to take that bend out of your wrist. You'll still be able to support yourself really well without causing pain to your wrist. So whatever is comfortable, we're holding this for about 2 minutes and start to feel what you're opening here. Maybe pulling the chest up a little bit more, and then allowing the neck to even come forward a little bit. Try to find the areas that you can relax a little bit more. Notice where you feel this one. Sometimes on this side, I feel it all the way into my big toe, and that's where it's running up the inside of the thigh. And again, this is a lot of these meridians start in the feet and they go up the entire length of the body. They connect through the groin, the ribs, sometimes they'll cut across the center, go into the shoulders. So it's not unusual to feel something in, a point in your shoulder, your hip, your toe, because they're all connected. These lines of energy are really long and they go in some pretty unusual places. So you might feel a little twinge underneath the left eye and the right pinky toe. It is really interesting when you start to slow down your mind and notice what are all the different places that I'm feeling these. Kind of go into the stretch, and sometimes you can even feel the pathway in what is working, what's opening a little bit. Sometimes it feels like heat, like you're actually generating heat going through an entire line of energy in your body. And these meridians are like your waterways. They're these flow paths through your body, and when they're blocked, it's no different than a beaver that would block a part of a river and the water stops flowing.
And so our flow can be really badly disrupted, and it causes a lot of discomfort and pain to our body when our energy is blocked in these meridians. And so your yin practice is going to really help open some of these areas and places. We're here for about 3 more deep breaths. And so see if you can really lift into your breath and notice how your body transitions with each and every breath. One more deep breath. And then when you're ready again, you're going to slowly, very slowly, start to push your right hip right over your right knee. And then just allow the left leg to straighten a little. And moving into the left leg a little. I'm going to start to bring the blocks to the inside. Allow the left leg to come around. And then just find knee together child's pose. So kind of compressing in right along the interior of the hips and the groin. And allow your head to come down. Maybe fold the hands. Forehead and forearms find each other. Maybe sway your body a little side to side. Now, we're going to stay in a pose similar to this. This is called the saddle pose. We're going to do one leg at a time. You can use a block. You can use a bolster. You don't have to use anything. I'm going to show it with the blocks, and then I'm going to show it without the blocks. Again, the bolster would work the same way. So you can sit up on the blocks, and you can stack the blocks. You can take the blocks wider so you have more tailbone support. I'm going to bring the blanket away from me. We're going to start off with the right knee forward, and I'm going to bring the left leg up. Now your saddle pose can be here. You can start to extend yourself back, and this is where sometimes this bolster can be really handy as you lean back. Now you might extend this leg forward, and you're going to feel this run along the top of the right thigh. Now if you're able to go down further and you're not feeling any discomfort on this, you might move your props out of the way, and you might start to come down. And again, if you're not able to come down the whole way, you can bring the elbows back onto those blocks. If you're able to, you can start to come down the whole way. The right leg is going to be forward, and that right heel is tucked right into the side of my body. All right, so this is where my whole body is down. Now I'm feeling a lot of pressure, but I'm not feeling as though I'm in my maximum state. Again, I don't want to feel pain. I'm feeling mild discomfort, but it's going away pretty fast. So you can bring your knee up. You can also take your leg out to the side. This is a really relaxing pose, and you can bring those arms over the head. This is going to stretch into that inner thigh again. So we're going to get into that spleen, kidney, liver meridian a little bit more effectively with those arms overhead. Now you can also bring your knee in. I like this variation today. Now sometimes you can also take that foot a little bit further over, and you can place the ankle right on top of the thigh. So you're getting a little bit of the outer. Now, if you do this, you can find different variations. There's the lotus variation. I like when this leg is just across, so it's actually pulling the leg down a little bit as my arms are pulling in the opposite direction. You can find the variation that works best for you. You can also use support. If this knee is hanging up,
and you want a little bit more support. And that way it's going to take some of the pressure off your foot. And so just allowing the hips to open. Again, finding the variation that works best for you, and all of us are going to look very different. All of us have different areas of flexibility. You know, some of us can bend literally in half, but when we take our legs out a little bit wider, they don't go out that far. You know, my daughter is really flexible like this, but in pigeon pose, her hips don't move. There's, you know, interior rotation and exterior or external rotation. And some of us have more external rotation, thereby sometimes limiting our internal rotation, or vice versa. So sometimes, you know, some poses make you look like you've been doing yoga for the last 20 years, and some poses make you look like you just, you know, started your very first yoga class. So don't ever judge where you are. Where you are is where your sensation is. And that's the nice thing about yoga. It will meet you where you need to be. When we decide to push past where we need to be is where we kind of get into trouble. And that's unfortunately where most of us get in trouble in all areas of our life. We need to just take it a step at a time, a day at a time, a moment at a time, and come into the pose that's available for me today without judging where I should be or where I'm not. The harshest judges in this world are ourselves. And I think if we listened or even wrote down half of what we say to ourselves, we would be appalled at our unkindness and our lack of support. So we're going to come into that second edge of the pose. That second edge might be something that's a little bit more intense. So I'm going to grab onto my knee to create a little bit more. You can also grab onto the back of the thigh. If you're really flexible and that leg wants to come down, you can take that leg all the way down. Keep pushing more of your lower back down as you're doing this, and try to make sure your right knee stays connected to the earth. And so again, this isn't a pose where I want to hurt myself. It's where I might find something that has a little bit more sensation rather than a place of pain. And just see if you can focus on your breathing. Allowing your body to relax. Now, when we come out of this, I like to come out the same way I came into it. So I started out with a straighter leg, and I'm going to kind of push my right hand into my leg and lift myself up slowly. This is where I'm going to grab my right hand around the back of, or the front of the shin, and move it forward so it can extend forward and really slowly work the leg out. If you want to massage out the top of the thigh, this is a really good way to get things moving in that area, even up to the knee, and then just shake the legs out. Now I'm going to do the same on the other side. If you used a block for that side, you're going to use a block. If you used a bolster, you'll use a bolster. I'm going to grab onto this foot, and the moon of my foot kind of faces right into the moon of my moon. Then I'm going to lean back, and I'm going to point the left knee forward and adjust the tailbone as I slowly come down. Make sure the knee is facing forward and the leg is down. Now, this leg is a little tighter. So the left leg is not the right leg. The right leg is not the left leg. And so the poses that I came into on my right side might not be available in the left. They might be available, but sometimes they're not available right away. Sometimes it takes a moment for the body to relax. So already my left leg is relaxing a little bit more because I'm not pushing it. If you push it, it stays contracted, it stays really tight. It's like anything that we push, it pushes back. So if I can relax, then it flows a little bit easier. Now I'm going to see if I can bring this right knee up. If I can, I might stay there. This still feels okay. So I'm going to bring this leg out over towards the side. And I'm going to see how it feels with the arms. Now already taking the arms overhead, I notice that that left hip opens a lot more. And so I really feel a lot of pulling on my left knee, my left hip. I'm going to stay here for a few moments. I'm going to allow my body to kind of accept this variation of the pose. And as I'm here, if I can relax everything, just like earlier, it will start to release, and it did. So now I need a little bit more. So I'm going to take that block, and I'm going to bring the foot over, and I'm going to bring the foot so the foot is kind of facing slightly in. And I'm going to use the block to give me a little bit more support. This is going to, again, pull on the top of the thigh. If there's too much pulling, take the foot off. If you want a little bit more, you can take those arms behind you. And just try to see, can I relax the leg a little bit more? This is where that block can be really helpful because you're not working the right leg a lot. I mean, you can work it, but it shouldn't be where you're totally distracted in your pose. If I have to hold it up, I'm not able to relax my body as much. So my focus or my intent is really to give the left leg the best stretch it can. And I'm working into that part of the inner thigh. You know, connecting a little bit more to the adductors of the body. Trying to get the lower back to come down a little bit more. That's going to work into the top of the hip. And you're going to notice that all these little adjustments will sometimes give you the stretch that you need. And just noticing how you feel. Breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. Noticing as the pose changes, what changes inside the pose. We're here for about a minute and a half more. See if you can relax that leg a little bit more. My right leg doesn't want to stay on my left as much or as easy. And so it's a little distracting. So I'm going to take this down and I'm going to find a different variation to get a better stretch that's less distracting. And you'll notice that sometimes the sides are different. The body takes on a different shape. And in Yin, we don't want to force the sides to be the same. We want them to open. And we're allowing them to open where they are. You know, that's not that the right side has to be exactly the same as the left. Especially if I've had injuries, I might have scar tissue I have to work through. And I have to make allowances for what that side has or what it is available to. And once I do that, I'm able to deepen the pose because I'm breaking through some of the scar tissue. I'm stretching the fascia. And the fascia is working around not only the muscles, the the ligaments, the tendons, but it's breaking apart some of that scar tissue, so I have less tightness. The fascia is often what creates this really tight hold and pull, and if I relax, it relaxes. And then when it rehardens around a new form, a new shell. Now, if I've broken apart some of that scar tissue, I've created a new structure, a new shell. So we're in the last 30 seconds of that pose. And that might be, you pull that knee in a little bit more, you might bring a foot down, you might lean back a little bit. Wherever you are, see what's available. Again, it's never something where I'm in pain. Pain means I'm hurting myself. So I can be uncomfortable, but if I'm in pain, my breathing might take on a different pace. I might not feel comfortable talking. I might be holding my breath. I might be clenching my hands, my feet, curling my toes, even clenching your jaw, gritting your teeth. These are all signs that I'm not giving myself the best practice I can. Now, to come out of this pose, I'm going to bring the foot down. I'm going to start to come back in, and again, I'm going to push down, kind of push and pull myself in. I'm going to slowly bring myself up, and then I'm going to grab onto the shin, and I'm going to pull this leg forward. And just like I did with the right, I'm going to bring this leg forward, and I'm going to massage it out all the way up to the knee. Nice, shake out the legs. All right. So we're going to come into a scapular stretch or subscapular stretch. You're going to need your block for this. Now, about 4 inches underneath your armpit, right about where your bra strap is, I'm going to come onto my right side. And I'm going to bring, you don't really need other props for this one unless you want more support underneath your bottom. I'm going to bring it right around to where my bra strap would be, or again, about 4 inches underneath my ribs, or underneath my armpit. So right at that top of the rib cage, and I'm going to bring the right hand underneath, and I'm going to straighten out the side of the left leg. Now, this at first is pretty uncomfortable, and you're going to feel that it's kind of digging in. You can move a little bit into this. Unlike our other yin poses, we want to be really still. This is going to work into a pressure point, and this is actually a pressure point for the spleen. Okay, so the spleen, the meridian for the spleen runs across the bridge of the ribs. So this is going to kind of hit. So as I come a little further forward, I'm going to hit right into that spleen meridian. Now your spleen is, or your spleen meridian, really responsible for fighting off viruses. So this is a really good way to kind of open this area. You can also tap this area, you know, every morning, really vigorously tapping both sides of your spleen. Kind of get that, you know, lymphatic movement in the body. I'm going to start to extend, bring the arm down. If that's not comfortable, don't have to do it. So I'm going to bring the arm down, and then I'm going to bring the other arm over. So I'm allowing this opening in the side body, pressing into the side of the ribs. This is also going to help open the lungs. Now, wherever you are, just kind of feeling how this feels. And you can use one hand grab on. You can allow the whole body to relax. Top leg is straight. So I'm pushing into my right ribs, but my left leg is straight. Right knee stays bent. If your breathing is cutting off, maybe coming up a little bit more. This might make you cough a little bit. So sometimes it opens up some areas around the lungs. be surprised if you have to clear your throat. And again, just if you're coughing into your hands like I did, you know, you're at home, make sure you wash your hands. You know, unfortunately with this one, I don't have my armpit is readily available to cough into, or my shirt. And just allow your body to relax. You can bring both arms over. I find it more comfortable for me to grab on to my top arm. Maybe just pressing into the ribs, the head might come down a little bit. We're going to stay here for a few more deep breaths. And just feeling your body relax. Feeling as though tension and strain is kind of lifting off. This is a pose that I do anytime I feel I have low immunity, or I feel like something is coming on. You know, so this is a pose you can actually add into just, you know, a few minute practice every day while we're trying to keep our body healthy and strong. And when you're ready, you're going to use that left hand. You're going to kind of push and pull yourself up out of that side. Sorry, my hair is coming apart. So I'm going to push and pull that. And then we're going to go to the other side, same thing. So I'm going to press the block into this side. If you need a little opening, feel free to open your side body a little bit. You can stretch out that area. The nice thing about going to the other side, it is kind of a counter stretch. So I don't normally offer a big stretch in between those. So again, about 4 inches underneath the armpit is where I want to be on this. And I'm going to take it, so my hand is under my head. My left knee is forward and the right leg is straight. Now, you might feel more than one area than the other. And if you feel more, that means you need this. That means that might be an area that's a little bit blocked. And so sometimes we'll feel more on one side than the other, and you can kind of move into it. So just allow those areas to really open. This is also another one that if you do in the morning, it has a tendency to give you a lot of energy throughout the day. It also really strengthens the immune system and helps your body just kind of combat viruses, stay stronger. And then I might be able to bring that left arm down. I will say my left side is a lot more, a lot tighter. So I'm gonna keep this hand under here for a little bit longer for me. But that's always good to recognize and know is that this is an area that maybe I have a little bit of a blockage. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. And sometimes I feel that these areas change constantly, especially when you start doing something more regularly. You notice how much more they change, or where you start to feel it. One week you feel more on the left, and then the other week everything is on the right. And so our bodies are constantly changing. And so just being aware of where am I feeling it today? Not thinking that, oh, this is my bad side. It's just where I might be a little tighter today. So now this side has opened a little bit more. I might bring that left arm to grab on, or maybe just bring both arms over. And just feeling how, again, this opens this side. You might feel that need to cough a little, because this is opening some of these airways. And this is a big lung opener. And so if you're having constriction in the lungs at all, just from general allergies, you know, any other issues that you've had. Maybe you've recently had a flu, and your lungs haven't totally recovered or healed. This is a great one to start to expand the lungs a little bit more. We're going to stay here for just about 4 more deep, good breaths. This one always makes me cough. Every time I do it, I have a couple of coughs, which I feel is really a good thing. And on your next inhalation, bring that right arm down, starting to bend the right knee. Start to slowly pull yourself up. Take my drink. And this time, reach your left arm over your body. And just bring that arm back in, rolling out the shoulder. Think about twisting over towards the right side. And then giving yourself a little counter twist, twisting to the left. We're going to bring the legs out into dragon fly pose. So this is sometimes called, you know, your straddle pose as well. Dragonfly pose, just bringing the legs out wide. If you have anything going on with the back, you can do this up against the wall, with the legs up against the wall, and even the feet on the wall. So you can take the legs out as wide as you need to, or bend the knees and place the feet on the wall so you're minimizing the amount of room that your hips go out. You can also grab onto your blanket, and with the blanket, you're going to take that blanket underneath, and you might prop yourself up on a blanket so you have an easier time folding forward. Another thing that my students with really tight hamstrings, because they can't come forward and actually they look like they're being pulled back by somebody, is when you're doing this, you're gonna take your blocks underneath your knees and you can prop your knees up. Make sure whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. So if you prop one knee up like this, prop the other knee up like this. You can prop them up as much as you need to. I'm going to start to extend and walk the bottom back, and then just start to fold forward. If you need something else to hold on to, you can. And you come forward into your deepest fold forward. Now, a lot of times in yoga, we kind of recommend keeping the toes facing up. And I want you to allow the toes to do whatever they need to do. Again, we're working on stretching into the fascia, and we need to relax our body as much as we can so the muscles aren't involved. If I'm holding my feet up, my muscles, my adductors or abductors have to do that. And so I'm working in the abductor. Adductors have to do that as well. So make sure that you relax the feet when you're doing this, and just allow yourself to come forward as much as you can. If you need more support, you can take those blocks and you can rest your head right into it. And you can just find the pose that feels best for you. And just allowing yourself to come forward as far as you can. And bringing the head down, bringing the body down. And coming into a place that's comfortable. If you're down really deeply, you can use your block on your chest and allow yourself to come down a little bit more. This will give you a little bit more support. If you don't quite need the block, maybe even the blanket is enough to give you the support you need so you're not feeling over pulling in the knees or the hips. Sometimes what you'll feel is pain on the backs of the knees, or even sometimes the front of the knees, and then you just need to bend your knees a little bit, give yourself some support there. But we're going to stay here for about 3 minutes. And this is one of our last poses today. And again, we're working the inside of the thighs, connecting to the kidney, the liver, the spleen meridians, and allowing these areas of our body to not only stay very open and healthy, keeping the flow channels open, but we're creating our body's ability to detox what already might be a little full, what might not be running quite as efficiently. And sometimes our body has a number of reasons why it stops running efficiently. And one of the main reasons our body doesn't have the ability to keep its level of efficiency is stress. And we're under an enormous amount of stress right now. And so allowing yourself to de-stress, not push, not effort, not over try any pose. Notice where you feel sensation, not pain. Notice the flow of your breath in and out of your body. And just feel as though you're able to melt down, be part of the earth. Again, maybe like that wet sand. Just pouring yourself out and noticing how you're taking form around whatever shape you're trying to create. Notice maybe which leg you feel it in the most, which hip you might feel the most. And notice if it's connecting with a leg, where does it stop? Does it go down to the shin, a particular toe? Does it go up the back body? The interior of the body? Allowing your head to turn to any direction that feels comfortable for you. You maybe recognize which direction did you turn. Whatever direction you turned, which leg is the most tense? Sometimes the form of energy that I feel will have a continuation. So if I'm feeling pressure in the right leg, I might turn my head to the left. And if I'm feeling pressure in the left leg, I might turn my head to the right. Our lines of energy are crisscrossed. And so noticing where you're feeling this. And then if you can, turn your head to the other direction, turning your cheek to the other side. If you don't have your head turned to any direction, that's fine. Just keep the crown of the head facing forward. Support whatever you need to. We're only here for about 30 more seconds. And just allowing yourself to stay here for a few more breaths. And we
when you're ready, slowly start to bring yourself out of your pose. Grabbing onto your knees, pulling your knees in towards you. Walking the feet in a little bit more. Moving your knees a little side to side. Maybe shaking out your legs a little bit. And then coming into your Shavasana. After your yin practice, I really recommend about a 15-minute Shavasana. Allowing yourself to come into the most comfortable variation of this pose that you can. Thank you so much for joining me today in this yin practice. Please stay healthy and strong.